Hey everyone, today is an exciting time because not only are we in a new year, but more importantly, we are now starting the Cabin Fever Challenge for 2023. Now, if you guys have been following my channel for a while, you're familiar with the Cabin Fever Challenge, but for those of you who may have joined in the last 10 months or so, the Cabin Fever Challenge is something that was started by the channel Rifle Chair out of Canada, and it's basically a internet-based, skills-based competition revolving around firearms, obviously. And it's a very easy course of fire that is very, very accommodating for a lot of skill levels and is just a good excuse to get out there, practice the skills that it takes to be a rifleman, riflewoman, for those of you participating. And also just set a bar for you to be able to test yourself against and track your progression over time. Now, the course of fire, like I said, is pretty straightforward and simple. However, it is deceptively difficult, and basically a quick explanation, we'll dig a little bit more into it later on in the video, but it consists of 20 rounds fired on most of the divisions at 100 yards at an 8-inch circle, and you fire 5 rounds standing, mandatory reload, 5 rounds kneeling, mandatory reload, 5 rounds prone, mandatory reload, and then finish with 5 rounds seated. You take your number of hits, calculate that with your time, and that gives you your score. Like I said, it's been a lot of fun. I have been involved with it for the last couple of years. I am once again one of the division leaders this year, and so I just wanted to make a video letting you guys know what's going on and invite all of you watching to participate in the challenge this year. Now, I'm making this video, however, Rifle Chair, the kind of grandmaster, if you will, of the Cabin Fever Challenge to begin with, has just posted a video as well, so I will link his down below. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, you can reach out to him, myself, or you can also reach out to us on the Facebook page where we have all the moderators involved to hopefully answer whatever questions you might have. So let's go ahead and dig into what the Cabin Fever Challenge is, what the rules are, what the divisions are, and hopefully encourage all of you watching to participate. So we're going to start with the core ground rules, and the number one thing anytime we're dealing with firearms is going to be safely. Do not attempt this challenge unless you know you can do it safely, whether that be just in the firearms manipulation itself, going from position to position, or just having a safe range where you can engage a target at whether it's 50 or 100 yards, and make sure you have a safe environment for that. So obviously safety is going to be the number one concern here, and as long as everyone's doing it safe, we should all have a good time. Now, you might see me looking off camera here. I have the little cheat sheet up here next to me, so that's what I'm doing here. Number two is do not nominate someone unless you feel that they can safely and competently complete the course of fire. Part of the fun of the Cabin Fever Challenge is the ability to nominate other people, which I will definitely be doing myself. And when you're nominating someone, just make sure it's someone that has the skills to be able to, again, complete this in a safe manner. Number three, basically the match starts January 1st, so we're already a couple days into that, and it's going to go all the way until March 31st. So if you try to get something in on April 1st, it's going to be too late. So you have to submit between January 1st and March 31st of 2023 to qualify for 2023's Cabin Fever Challenge. Now, we'll get a little bit more into how to submit that later, but you should definitely follow the Cabin Fever Challenge Facebook page, because if there are any extensions that happen with that time period, it'll definitely be posted there. Number four is going to be that these are for center fire rifle cartridges only, at least for the bulk of the divisions. There is a separate rimfire and a separate muzzleloader division, but when we're talking about the core, I believe it's 4 divisions, it's going to be for centerfire rifle cartridges only. So when we're talking manual repeating, classic semi-auto, modern semi-auto, 22 does not count. All 22s, all rimfires fall into their own division, which again we're going to be covering in a minute. And then children may participate in the Cabin Fever Challenge, but only if they're under the direction of a experienced and responsible adult. We want to make sure, again, that safety is 100% at the forefront of everyone's mind when competing in the Cabin Fever Challenge. So let's go ahead and dig into the divisions. Division 1 is going to be your classic semi-auto or vintage semi-auto division. That is going to be any semi-automatic rifle, either, really before 1958. So your AK-47s, G3s, FALs, M1 Garands, M1 carbines, Gewehr 41s, Gewehr 43s if you have access to some of those. So any of those, surplus rifles, as we would consider them here in the US, but anything prior to 1958. And so that's going to exclude any and all AR-15s. So like the M16 clone I have over my shoulder here, even in an iron-sighted configuration, that is not qualified for classic semi-auto. Again, if you want to take a look at some more of the breakdown there and what other rifles might qualify in there, you can take a look at the link to the rules in the description below and see more in there. For reference, in the past, I have run it with an AK-47, AK-74, which I know the year on that is a little bit later, but the core design goes back to 1947 with that. So that's why that counted for the classic semi-auto. People run VZ58s a lot. Again, there's a lot of things, M1As, a lot of things that fall into that category. And an important caveat here is all of the firearms used in Division 1 have to be used in an as-issued configuration. So if you take an AK, VZ58, anything like that, and then you throw a scope on it or a red dot sight on it or anything like that, that knocks it out of Division 1. That's going to move it into the Modern Unlimited. So it has to be in basically original configuration for it to qualify for Division 1. That's definitely one of the more popular divisions every year, and I think one of the more fun ones to compete in, just to kind of push yourself with some of that older tech, shall we say. Division 2 is the Modern Unlimited, so that's going to be any and all AR-15s, any of the Division 1 guns in a more modern configuration or running optics. So really sky's the limit here. You can run as simple or as complicated of a setup as possible, or as you want really. So in the past I've run just AR-15s, usually with optics, but again, you can do whatever you want. Sometimes we get a really cool thing where, in fact, I believe Eunice, one of the match officiants from Finland, did it with a standard AK for Division 1, but then a modernized AK for Division 2, so kind of seeing a apples to apples comparison there was pretty cool. Again and again, Division 2 is definitely one of the more participated in divisions, definitely one of the more competitive divisions in the Cabin Fever Challenge. Now, Division 3 is going to be your manually operated division, so that's going to be any bolt action rifle, pump action rifles if you have one of those, lever action rifles. This one is kind of the nuts and bolts and kind of the core of the Cabin Fever Challenge. This is going to be all your old Milsurp rifles. So I usually have competed with Lee Enfield style rifles. But even if you have a more modern, like I might be competing this year with a Howa 1500. If you have a modern Tikka, anything like that, you can run it. If it's manually operated, there's no limitations on scopes or anything else like that. So again, sky's the limit as long as it is manually operated. And that has to be a firearm designed to be manually operated. So if you have like an AR-15 with a gas shutoff system, like a piston gun, and you shut it off so you're having to run the charging handle each time, that doesn't cut it. It's got to be something designed to be manually operated, at least as far as I'm aware. If not, I'll have a caveat in the pinned comment down below. Number 4, Division 4, is going to be for single shot or like break action style rifles. So your trapdoor Springfields, your rolling blocks. I've competed with a break action 44 Magnum from Henry, your CVA Scouts, anything like that. Anything that is a single shot rifle is going to fall into the single shot division. And again, no limitations on optics or anything like that, just has to be a single shot gun. And again, this has to be something designed to be a single shot rifle. So you can't take, a Lee Enfield and just put one round in at a time and run it that way. It has to be, again, designed to be a single shot rifle. Division 5 is for muzzle loaders. So last year I competed with a Kentucky rifle. I'll probably be competing again this year. Hopefully it's not the same train wreck that it was last year. I think, to my knowledge, still the longest ever run in Cabin Fever Challenge history, but hopefully I'll be redeeming myself this year. So again, any of your black powder muzzle loaders fall into Division 5. And then Division 6, the newest division, is going to be for 22 rimfire. So any and all 22s are going to fall into Division 6. Now, if you have any questions about where your firearm falls into when it comes to what division, again, please feel free to contact myself, Rifle Chair, or again, send a message to the Facebook page for Cabin Fever Challenge, and we will address specific questions as they arise. So let's talk about the actual positions you're going to be shooting from and what divisions shoot at what distances. So, important thing is that all shooting must be done unsupported. Now, what that basically means, no rifle rests, no bipods, no sandbags, no backpacks. You can monopod off a magazine, which is really going to come into play mostly for the Modern Unlimited. So you can monopod off the magazine, but you cannot use a shooting rest. You cannot use, bipods, monopods, anything like that. You can like sling into the rifle, so wrap your arm around the sling and support it that way, but no external supports for the rifle are allowed in the Cabin Fever Challenge. As far as the distances involved, divisions 1 through 4, so classic semi-auto, modern unlimited, bolt action or manually operated, and single shots will be completed at 100 yards or 100 meters, depending on what range you have available to you. And all of those are going to be shot at an 8-inch target. Now, there is a official match target that I'll have a link down to below. We highly recommend that you just use the official match target. It makes life a lot easier. It's designed to be printed out on an 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper. You just, set the scaling to 100% and it'll print you out a perfect clean target every single time. So that simplifies a lot of things there. Now, Division 5, the muzzleloader division, you are now shooting at that same 8-inch target, but it is now at 50 yards or 50 meters, again, depending on what range you have available to you. Now, the other important caveat here, and again, we'll probably cover it, is that the muzzleloaders, at the beginning I mentioned 5 rounds in each position. Muzzleloaders are 1 round from each position. Again, otherwise it would be painfully slow to run. And then now Division 6, the 22 long rifle division, or your rimfire division, really, I think it's really meant for 22 rimfire, is going to be again at 50 yards, but now you're using a 4-inch target. And again, there are official match targets linked down below. Print those out. Again, it'll just make everyone's lives a lot easier if you use the official match targets. So let's go ahead and get into the actual shooting process for the Cabin Fever Challenge, the positions, how many rounds, etc., etc. So for all but Division 5, it's going to be a total of 20 rounds. So 5 rounds standing, there's going to be a mandatory reload. 5 rounds kneeling, again, a mandatory reload. 5 rounds prone with a mandatory reload. And then 5 rounds seated with a mandatory reload. Now, even if you have magazines that hold more than 5 rounds, you still have to do a reload in between each position. So if you're running an AR-15, for example, you'll want to have 5 rounds loaded into each magazine, or at least your first 3 magazines, I guess, and then have to do a manual reload in between each position. Now, there has been some question regarding especially manually operated rifles. So let's say I have a bolt action rifle with a 10-round magazine and I don't have 4 magazines to use in the competition. If I wanted to, I can fire the first 5 rounds, leave the bolt open, pull that magazine out, put another magazine in, set that original magazine off to the side, again, fire 5 rounds, leave the action open, return back to that original magazine, finish off those 5 rounds, and then again, get back to that second magazine and finish off those 5 rounds. So as long as you are actually performing a reload and a cycling of the action in between each position, that again qualifies for the competition. Again, if there's any questions or changes there, I'll have that again in the pinned comment down below. Now, as I alluded to earlier, with Division 5, with the muzzleloaders, it's only going to be 4 rounds fired total. So you have 1 round standing, reload, 1 round kneeling, reload, 1 round prone, reload, and then 1 round seated. And again, that's going to be the end of your course of fire. Because of the time it takes between each round fired, sometimes it's easy to forget to change positions. And now it's also important to note with the muzzleloaders, you are totally okay returning to the standing position each time to perform your reload if you want to. If you want to try to perform your reload in the kneeling, the prone, or the seated position, you are totally allowed to do that as well, but it is also a-okay to do it from the standing. I know British Muzzleloaders, fantastic channel, when he does the muzzleloader division, he will typically reload in whatever position he's in, and props to that guy because he's also usually doing it in the correct period garb, and I think we all appreciate watching that. Now, as far as the actual scoring system goes, we know how to shoot, we know what we're shooting at, but how do we calculate our score? So basically the way it's going to work is you have the time is going to start from the first round fired. So if you're running a shot timer, it's not started from the beep, it's started from the actual first round fired, and that goes all the way into the last round fired. So it's only during your shooting portion that the time is being counted. And then we are also going to be worrying about the number of hits we get. Now, any shot that breaks that outer line counts as a hit. If it's outside that outer edge, that does not count for a hit, obviously. Basically, there's going to be 5 points per shot inside your corresponding circle. So you're going to take the number of hits times 5, and then you're going to divide that by your total time in seconds. So if it's 2 minutes, it's going to be 120 seconds. And then you're going to take that and then multiply it by 100. That is going to give you your score. I'll have an example here at the bottom of the screen just to help you along. And if you wanted to, you can also go back and watch previous videos that I've done actually competing in the Cabin Fever Challenge, so you can see, really what everything that I've described so far looks like, and then how to quantify your score for the Cabin Fever Challenge. Now, like all good challenges, there's going to be a nomination process involved with the Cabin Fever Challenge. So if you have someone that you would like to see compete in it, we readily invite you to challenge that person. Now, out of courtesy, if you're going to be challenging someone, A, make sure again that they can actually complete the course of fire safely, but B, make sure you give them enough time to actually prepare and compete in the Cabin Fever Challenge. It's never fun when someone nominates you with a week left and you don't have time to go to the range. So the earlier you get things completed and nominated, the better it's going to be for everybody. And then a pro tip, it's always a good idea. It's like having a reference for a job application. It's usually a good idea to clear it with that person before you nominate them on camera. Just a little courtesy that you can throw out there to your friends. Just talk to them maybe before you actually throw their name out in a video. Now, as we already mentioned, the time span that this course of fire is going to have to take place in is between January 1st, again, already passed if you're watching this video, and March 31st, again, of 2023, if you want to be included in this. Now, again, if there's going to be any extensions made, check the Facebook page for Cabin Fever Challenge for more information on that. That takes us into the honor system. So obviously this is a remotely performed challenge, and we can't, sit there and handhold and babysit each person as they're competing in this course of fire. However, we do have officiants for each division that are going to review every submission made, and if we have any sense that there's something not quite right, or something's not all adding up, or the score isn't quite right, we will definitely be auditing all of those. And it's usually uncommon for us to disqualify people, but it has happened, unfortunately, in the past. One of the biggest things that can lead to a disqualification is not properly showing your target that you shot. Now, you don't have to have multiple cameras going like I typically do, with one on the target and then one from the shooter. As long as you, after you're done with your course of fire, can walk down to your target, show us a clear image of the target with the hits, and if you can with the misses, not as huge of a deal, but walk us through your target, count out your hits, make it as easy for us judges to judge the target as possible. Again, usually if there's going to be any disqualification, it's because we don't get a clear image of the target and we can't validate the score that the person submitted. So again, please make our job as easy as possible. And please, usually there's no prizes involved with Cabin Fever Challenge, so we're all just doing it to have fun. So just please be honest, but we will be auditing every submission. Now, as far as how to submit your scores, there's going to be two main ways to submit your score. Now, in the past, at least last year, we did it all via email, and you still can, if you choose, submit your scores via email. However, there's going to be a new submission form available on the Cabin Fever Challenge website where you can submit all of your information, number of hits, time in seconds, and having a link to your video. Because we obviously have to watch the video. You don't have to post it on YouTube, but as long as you have a way for us to view the video and also download the video, that way we can use it in the end of competition recap and also the awards video, that will suffice. Again, most people use YouTube. You don't have to make it publicly viewable, but as long as we, the match officials, can view it, that's what's going to matter there. So again, I'll have a link down below to the Cabin Fever Challenge website where you can scroll down and submit your score, or you can also send it to, and I'm just going to read it off the screen here, CFC for Cabin Fever Challenge, divisions with an S at gmail.com. And you can send your submission in that way. Now, when you're sending in your email, you want to make sure that ideally in your subject line, you put the division that you're submitting for. Now, it's also important you only get one submission per division. And if you're competing in multiple divisions, you need to submit them as separate emails. Otherwise, they'll get lost in the shuffle and some of your scores might not get counted. So make sure in the subject line you say what division you're competing in. And if you can, put your name in there. But again, that's exceedingly important. And then if you don't want to use your real name, you can also use an alias. Just let us know what you want us to refer you to as in the scores sheet as well as in the awards video. But in the body of the submission, you need to have the country that you're shooting from, because this is an international event. We get a lot of people from Canada, the United States, Australia, Finland, really all over the place. So make sure you let us know what country you're shooting from. We need a link to the video where we can view it and again download it. That is exceedingly important. Your name or again an alias for you or whoever the competitor themselves are. The division number, the rifle that you're using, and the caliber that you're using it in. So if you're using a Ruger American, there's a bajillion different calibers that those are made in. So make sure you tell us what caliber that you're using with that rifle. And then you're going to want to put your time that it took from first shot to last shot, the number of hits, and then your calculated score. Again, we're going to audit that, but that just gives us quick shorthand to start working from. And then if you have any message or anything you want to put into there, you can throw that into it as well. Again, everything I just listed is in the rules that, again, are linked down below. So just please go line by line. It'll make life a lot easier. Or again, you can just use that easy Google submission document, basically, on the Cabin Fever Challenge website to submit it that way. So just a couple of little housekeeping things. While I said you can only submit one entry for each division, that doesn't mean you can only run one item in each division. If you wanted to, you can run a bunch of different guns for a division, but you can only submit probably your best one. I don't know why you wouldn't submit your best one, but you want to submit only one per division. You can run it as many times as you like, but again, you can only submit one per division. And again, I just think that this is a really awesome opportunity to get people out shooting, get people interacting with another community of like-minded and fellow shooters from all over the world. And to me, it's just something that allows you to kind of compete against yourself and gives you a chance to measure your skill level and how you progress over time. Because when you can quantify things, it's a lot easier to track those things and see if you're actually improving. And that's something that I really appreciate. So again, I'll have the links down below to everything that I mentioned. I highly recommend looking through that. Check out Rifle Chair's video as well, should you so choose. And I will very much look forward to seeing all of your submissions. And I gotta say too, even if you don't do well, I would still submit. We like to give shout outs to people for participating, and you don't have to be in the top 5 scores for us to recognize you. And I think, again, it's just a good way to kind of keep yourself honest, give yourself something to look towards and to work towards, and again, have fun with a community of people that can even maybe give you feedback and help you improve. So if you have any questions, comments, or concerns, you can throw that in the comment section down below. But again, I'd recommend heading to the Cabin Fever Challenge Facebook page, or again, check out any of the links down in the description. But as always, I hope you got something out of this video, and I really appreciate you watching.